morning sun shines on the gleaming hide of a muscular ranch horse. The aroma of bacon and coffee drifts from the wood cook stove at a cow camp. Silver spurs jingle as the men and women of the West get set for another day in the saddle. From the heart of Canada's finest ranching country, this is the Spirit of the West with rancher and horse trainer Hugh McLennan and his collection of music, poetry, and conversations with the folks who live and work with horses and cattle in the Spirit of the West.
Well, he's been a mentor to hundreds of young cowboys, helping develop their potential in all aspects of the job, including their horsemanship. He leads by example, and a long conversation with him always leaves you feeling better, like you've learned something, and somehow more peaceful. Miles Kingdon is back this week, and we'll talk more about his new book, and Miles will reveal more about himself.
There's a lot of things about this book I've had to say that I kept pretty close to my chest, and I guess another thing I'm kept pretty close to my chest
is what? You'll find out in a few minutes. On the Rangeland News, we'll look at everything from the status of the North American cow herd to this.
Most foods are going to cost more in 2019, for example.
And in the Cowboy Poetry Spotlight, something that's a great fit for today's conversation.
To a time when we did ride in perfect syncopation, man and horse.
And of course, Baxter Black. We'll be back today with another gem.
But the bagel and vegan crowd continue to be skeptical based on the idea that something that tastes so good must be bad for you.
Do you think he's talking about beef? And on the Irvin Saddles and Western Wear horse training file, a horse that refuses to accept the worming syringe and what to do. Miles Kingdon talks about the deep essence of the life of a working ranch cowboy after our opening song, and this is Roy Rogers along with Katie Oslin and Restless Heart. And it was the very first song ever played on the Spirit of the West back in June of 1992.
See them tumbling down, pledging their love to the ground. Lonely but free I'll be found, drifting along with the tumbling tumbleweeds. Cares of the past are behind, nowhere to go but I'll find just where the trail will wind, drifting along with the tumbling tumbleweed. I know when night has gone, that a new world's born at dawn. I'll keep rolling along, deep in my heart is a song. Here on the range I belong, drifting along with the tumbling tumbleweed. I'm a roving cowboy, riding all day long.
Tumbleweeds around me sing their lonely song.
Nights underneath the prairie moon, I ride alone and sing a tune. See them tumbling down, pledging their love to the ground. Lonely but free I'll be found, drifting along with the tumbling tumbleweed. I know
That still sounds great even today. And you know, it's always great to have Miles Kingdon visiting the ranch and sitting in with us. And you know, Miles, that song just takes me out to the trails that we can see right here from the studio window. I get out there and I see different tracks. Every day that trail is different than it was the day before. And I'm out there just me and my horse. And for several hours, and I said, that is the most therapeutic thing I can do. I said, I'm at the stage now where whether there's cows to move or not, I'm into that whole, I mean, I'm getting carried away here, but you know what I
No, that's right.
exactly
You're
what
with
I'm
your
talking
horse
about.
and you're
Yeah.
going someplace.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
this right. You're on this energy
Yeah.
going through life.
Yeah, and you have
it's,
that shared harmony with your horse. And,
That's right.
yeah, and there's so many old cowboy songs that fit perfectly to that hoofbeat tempo. That just, oh man, you know, I start singing those songs, and JJ or Cody will flick that ear back and say, I know that song. He always sings that when we come through this spot. You know, I was singing Tumblin' Tumbleweeds coming down the trail the other day. Nobody around, and all of a sudden a coyote. No, I was whistling the chorus. I got to the chorus and I started whistling. And a coyote answered me. Like he heard that. I mean, how special is that?
Well, you know something, the critters do appreciate that because there's a lot of things about this book I've had to say that I kept pretty close to my chest. And I guess another thing I'm kept pretty close to my chest is I sing when I'm with my horse a lot too. You just do. And I sure wouldn't want anybody to catch me, you know. That'd be as humbling as, wow, that guy couldn't carry a tune for nothing, and I can't. But it's that energy makes you feel like singing sometimes, and your dog and your horse, they feel that. Oh, he's happy, you know. It's pretty good to be around when they're happy.
Like that wonderful line Bob Nolan wrote. Here on the range I belong, deep in my heart is a song. Drifting along with a tumblin' tumbleweed. You know, that's just, and that just fits perfect with that.
Oh, we grew up listening to that stuff.
Yeah, and it still comes back. And I think that so often. Here's where I belong, and deep in my heart is that song.
That's right.
That's cool. Okay, well, let's talk more about your book. And I think I can find a song about the photographer who did your cover picture when the Spirit of the West continues right after this. Welcome back to the Spirit of the West. I'm looking at the book, Beyond the Next Ridge, A Cowboy's Story by Miles Kingdon, and Miles is here sharing the coffee today. The illustrations that Rob Dinwoody did.
Talented man, isn't he?
Oh, and just captured the essence of the book with such accuracy. Like some of his action pictures, they jump right off the page at you.
Oh, yeah.
But there's a shot of you, or a drawing of you, and I can't remember who the other fella that was with you, and you're both riding colts. And I think it was Orville Ralston that was either, you know, giving you the assignment or where the circle was going to be. And you and your partner are sitting there on these colts, and the detail of your gear, you're both with snaffle bits, and there's Orville, and you look close, you can see the Spanish spade, you can see the rein chains and the reins and romal and everything, you know, right there in that illustration. It's just...
The cowboy is very close to his heart, and he's paid attention to them details for a long time to be able to draw them up like that. Any person who draws like that has paid attention to those details all his life. And that was Jason Cootley, and he was he was always giggling. Yeah, the more people I meet that have went through some pretty tough times, they tend to laugh over little things a lot more, and it helps them breathe, you know, get through life. And Rob, it's interesting because Rob was, he phoned me that Christmas Day, and he said, listen, I want you to seriously consider doing this book. Now, he said, Possum's been working on you, and he said, I'm going to tell you, let's just work on a date. There was a lot more stories to put in the book. But it was Rob who said, you know, that's enough. Let's just go ahead and see what this is all about. And Ken Mather, who is he has my respect. big time. He has done so much work. He gathers information. He does so much research, and he's done a great job, and he did a lot of work. And Possum, her time in this book was, there's no way of adding up all the hours. And for me to watch her work like that, I've told many people it's actually more her book than it is mine. Even though my parents told me to write, my brother, my partners, and my daughters, it was Possum who kept on pestering me, kept buying me them books. Kim Taylor, what a talented bunch of people. All of them got, and you know, I wanted to say this. It's important to me. These people got more talent than what I do for writing and producing this book. The talent that I had was surviving those situations, and that wasn't even really me, because there's no coincidences in life.
Well, a guy who's ridden a lot of miles with you over the years, Ryan Fritz, has written a song about Kim Taylor, and this is a good place to play it, I think. It's called She Shoots the West.
With a camera in her hand, she's out there on the land, working with the cowboys, riding for the brand. If you were to ask, she'd just say it's her task, photographing moments that soon will be our past. And she shoots the west and captures away the west look today. And no one knows when this life might go to rest. So she shoots the west. She shoots the west. It's the early morning sun and the dusk when they're done, working herds horseback, a family tradition, a heading home cow track or a springtime mountain pass, the solitude of prairie and the pride in the grass. Oh, she shoots the west and captures away the west look today. And no one knows when this life might go to rest. So she shoots the west. She shoots the west and captures away the west look today. No one knows when this life might go to rest. So she shoots the west. She shoots the west.
That line is just so accurate. She shoots the west the way it looks today. Kim Taylor from the album Keeper of the West by Ryan Fritz.
We listened to it again yesterday afternoon driving into your place.
Yeah.
He is so talented. He's got a nice voice, and we're also proud of him, you know.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
He's just stayed true to his roots, and he's just developed his writing talent. And folks that enjoy his music may or may not be aware that Ryan is the real deal. I mean, you and Ryan have been through quite a few episodes. Some of them are in the book.
That's right, yeah. Yeah. He was young. He started young. as I did as well. But he started in the big outfit young, and we just all recognized that. All the people who everybody worked with them. I was so fortunate to have as many talented people who loved the cowboy lifestyle so much come to help me on them jobs. I've learned a lot from them. I don't think they even realize how much I learned from them. I mean, I was the boss, and I'm out on the front of the circle, taking the long circles as often as I can, and yet I learned a lot from them guys. There's a lot of talent, and Ryan is no exception. We're very proud of him.
Yeah. Ryan and Fred Feistman in here
Oh.
a couple of years ago. I had the two of them sitting down, and we got some real neat gang ranch stories. And one of them where neither one of them had been to town for a month and a half or something, and they finally got a break and got the job done. And Fred, who now is really successful in the corporate world of finance. He's one of RBC Dominion's top wealth management people, and he manages portfolios of millions and millions of dollars for huge corporate clients and wears a suit and tie, and he might even have an office in Vancouver. But at this point, Fred hadn't had a haircut for about 3 months, and so Ryan is going to cut Fred's hair before they go to town. But all he had was a jackknife. And so he cut it with a jackknife. I wish we had a picture of Fred that way.
Well, knowing Ryan, it would have been a good job. And as I recall, I don't remember Fred ever looking that messy. So I guess maybe it was a pretty good job. Ryan, everything he did good.
Yeah. Ryan actually said that when he finished with Fred, Fred looked pretty much like one of the Beatles, he thought. Anyway, let's take another quick break, and then it'll be Baxter Black and a song from the multi-talented Rob Dinwoody when the Spirit of the West continues right after this.
Howdy, friends. This is Baxter Black on Spirit of the West with Hugh McLennan, and I'll be right back after this. With a little peek at meat eating comes naturally. Well, friends, thanks for listening. It'll be no surprise that I've published a beautiful new hardback book called A Commotion in Rhyme. It fits in the bunkhouse, the outhouse, the bookstore, the library, or the cookbook. Unfortunately, it won't fit in a cupcake. Buy two, get one free. A commotion? Oh. Call 800-654-2550 or baxterblack.com. Come to think of it, it might fit in a Caesar salad. Now that the all-meat, all-fat diet's been acknowledged by most as effective for weight loss, they're promoting its value in controlling diabetes. Well, all this is great news for cattlemen, rib joints, and the egg board, but the bagel and vegan crowd continue to be skeptical based on the idea that something that tastes so good must be bad for you. Most anthropologists agree that prehistoric humans' rapid advancement was affected by their ability to hunt, to digest rich meat proteins, and to think. It freed them from the daily grazing grind of herbivores like mastodons, koalas, and gorillas, who, to this day, remain incapable of inventing the wheel. But somewhere along the way, we started increasing the amount of fruits and berries, corn and cabbage, potatoes, and tofu in our diet. Instead of chasing buffalo across the prairie, we planted Anastasi beans. We learned to make tortillas, and eventually we invented a food pyramid that said eat lots of bread and rice and croissants and less buffalo and chicken and goat. And then we found sugar! M&M's, Thousand Island dressing, Coca-Cola, and Krispy Kremes. We got fat. We fed grain to our pigs. They got fat. We fed grain to our dogs. They got fat. So based on my cowboy logic, to return to our sleek Cro-Magnon predator condition, we should sharpen our spears and head into the woods in search of edible wild game. Now, I acknowledge that many modern cave dwellers have lost these skills, but the hunting instinct is still there. It can now be applied to the search for low-carb meals, finding the right recipe for guacamole, the right salsa for tortilla-less tacos, and the nerve to eat raw liver. Those who practice the Atkins diet can tell you that the chase is as exciting and exhausting as the consumption, and because you have to work at it, it's more satisfying, not to mention the added benefit of losing weight. Well, my point is that if we look at our hunting ancestors, it should come as no surprise that increasing meat in our diet would make us healthier. But then, like now, I suspect the first man who walked upright was probably ridiculed by his grass-eating neighbors. This is Baxter Black on Spirit of the West with Hugh McLennan. Thanks for listening.
How about a weekend pass to the 23rd Annual Kamloops Cowboy Festival, March 14th to 17th, 2019. Just about the finest lineup of talent we've ever had. Michael Fleming.
On the back roads of Utah near the San Rafael, an old rough stock rider strides to the corral.
Gene Prescott.
Then he'd swing down from the saddle, and he'd take me in his arms.
Tim Huss.
The band's tuning up, and they're stocking the bar. Ranchers are coming from near and far.
Special guest Lewis the Big Rig McIver, and so many more. The BC Cowboy Hall of Fame inductions, dinner shows, daytime entertainment, a spectacular art and gear show, workshops on everything from songwriting to saddle making. The best place to get all the information is bcchs.com. And to order tickets, call 1-888-763-2221. You know, the drawings that and sketches that illustrate Miles Kingdon's book, Beyond the Next Ridge, remind me a lot of the art of Will James. But Rob is much more than a great artist. He's a good cowboy, and his day job is range management specialist. And he's a musician and songwriter. And here he is.
Life's a trail we travel on from the day that we are born. Sometimes steep and often narrow. High above the canyon walls, ridge tops and mountains tall. There's no map for this uncharted journey home. We're all looking for that place built on amazing grace. Hope and faith are its sure foundations. A place to live and grow, where love and kindness flow. A place that I know, a place called home. A place to hang my hat, hot meal in a kitchen chat. Safe place to lay my head as I lay sleeping. Roof over my head, four walls that can be said. This little place is my own, I call it home. Still the trail it leads me on, but I am not alone. Riding on some sure-footed horses with packs secure and tight, provisions for this life, all I need to make this long journey home. Though the trail is winding and long, valleys wide and mountains are tall, river's deep, and I'm often alone. One day I'll stand before his throne, he'll say, welcome home. Here's a place to hang your hat, hot meal and a kitchen chat. Safe place to lay your head as you lay sleeping. Roof over your head, four walls that can be said. Place, you can call it home. It's a place to hang my hat, hot meal in a kitchen chat. Safe place to lay my head as I lay sleeping. Roof over my head, four walls that can be said. This little place is my own, it's heaven's home. Thank God I'm home.
News of the Rangeland, a roundup of news and coming events from around the West.
At the top of page 1, it says, isn't it fun looking out the window at the bright skies and blue sunshine on the snow, the horses waiting to be saddled, and inside, We're sitting at the desk working on year-end finances and 2019 budgets. And then we hear that food prices are going up. With more, here's Gary Crawford.
Food prices at the grocery store went down in both 2016 and 17. They are likely to have only climbed maybe 0.5% this year. But what about the year that's about to start?
Well, currently we're expecting to pay 1 to 2% more for groceries in 2019.
So food price inflation kicking up just a little bit. This from Agriculture Department food price analyst Anne-Marie Coons. Of course, making a forecast is tricky at best. For example, pork prices dropped in 2018, but for 2019...
they might deflate, they might inflate.
See what I mean about tricky? Coons says some things, however, are more apparent. Most foods are going to cost more in 2019. For example,
beef and veal, we're expecting those to increase 1 to 2%. Fresh fruits are expected to increase 2 to 3%. We could pay 2.5 to 3.5% more for fresh vegetables. And then looking at cereal and bakery products, those could go up 2 to 3%.
Biggest price hike might be at the dairy counter. Prices expected up by as much as 4%. Gary Crawford for the U.S. Department of Agriculture, Washington.
In only what can be described as a Christmas miracle, Molly, a much-loved Clydesdale mare, was found after being missing for slightly more than 3 months. The owner, Cindy Thomas, said that the bay-colored mare was found Christmas Eve in excellent condition in a neighbor's yard. She said while she was driving to Calgary from her home near Evansburg to visit her family, her neighbors phoned to tell her to immediately turn around because Molly had somehow appeared in their yard. Now, nobody's entirely sure how Molly got there. She went missing on September the 22nd after Thomas said someone had stolen her. And tremendous efforts by Thomas, her neighbors, and others across the country were taken to find the horse. Stories of Molly missing were shared many times on social media, and Cindy wants to say thank you to all the strangers that helped look for Molly. Well, cow marketings are up 16% in Canada in 2018, and that puts the beef culling rate at liquidation levels. Higher than normal numbers of cows and heifers have gone to market in the fall, indicating very little growth in the beef herd for another year. Getting rid of females at a time of limited supplies because of severe drought and reasonable market prices was the best option last fall for a lot of producers. And watching the yearling run, Dallas Rogers, Canfax market analyst, says he thinks that in central Alberta and southern Alberta, they have put about 7,000 to 10,000 head of exposed heifers into feedlots given the dry pasture conditions. Well, a guy who spent most of his career keeping the cattle industry up to speed on a myriad of issues is retiring. Gren Winslow spent 33 years at the editor's desk of Canadian Cattleman magazine, and a few years ago, quite a few now, I sat down with Gren in his office to record an interview for this program, and we talked for a long time, and he told me this little story of how former editor, the legendary Frank Jacobs, gave him some advice.
Actually, he sat me down, is what he did, and sort of told me exactly what you have to do if you want to work on the Cattleman magazine, and basically that was to respect the people that are the readers, as the way he puts it to me, is cattle people are the best people in the world, and you should be honored that you have a chance to work for them. And that's sort of end of story.
All the best in your retirement, Gran, and thanks for all you've done for our industry. Next regular cattle sale at the BC Livestock Co-op is January 22nd, regular cattle sale, and then on January 29th, the bred cow and bred heifer sale along with the regular sale. The next regular sale at the Williams Lake Yards is February the 7th, and in Vanderhoof, February the 8th. Get all the information and see the sales streaming live at bclivestock.bc.ca. Meanwhile, at the Innisfail Auction Market, the first pre-sort sale of the year is Monday, January 21st. Calves will be weighed starting at 8 a.m. on Sunday. And to book your calves, you can call them at 1-800-710-3166. And the first horse sale of the year at the Innisfail Auction Market is Saturday, January 26th. Well, that takes us down to the final item. And as I have told many of you by now, our daughter-in-law, Terry McLennan, youngest son Rod's wife, has released her first novel called Beast, The First Encounter. And man, I loved reading this amazing story of a parallel society that kept its identity hidden from human discovery for centuries, the Sasquatch. Now, this isn't in the book, but maybe for the next one, Terry, the first encounter could be like this. Apparently, Justin Trudeau is out hiking around Golden, British Columbia, and he encounters a Sasquatch. And the Sasquatch talks and says, "Excuse me, have you seen my brother?" And Justin Trudeau says, "Gee, I don't know. What's he look like?" Okay, and that's the Rangeland News. Coming up on the Urban Saddles and Western Wear Horse Training File, what do you do with a horse that refuses to let the worming syringe come anywhere near his mouth? And there's more from Miles Kingdon when the Spirit of the West continues right after this. Welcome back to the Spirit of the West. Coming right up in the Urban Saddles and Western Wear Horse Training File, a lady bought a horse at an auction, and she's in love with that horse, but the horse is giving her one big frustration, and I'll offer some help. First, though, so what are you doing from August 29th to September 13th, 2019? Well, Billy and I will be hosting our 18th annual Spirit of the West cruise, and here's where we'll be going. We'll fly to Dublin, Ireland. We'll be visiting an Irish thoroughbred breeding farm. We'll be hosted by the Irish Cattle Breeding Federation, and then we'll sail to some historic and beautiful places, including Cork, Belfast, then Glasgow and Inverness, Scotland. And we might even get pictures of Nessie, the Loch Ness Monster. And we'll have stops in Paris and London. Now, this is something we've always wanted to do, and we'd love to have you join us. Get all the information at 1-800-530-0131. And check our Spirit of the West cruise page at hugh-mclennan.com and our cruise Facebook page. Now, remember, the early booking discount has been extended until January 21st, and you can save a lot if you book before that date. And remember, our cruise reunion takes place at Westerner Park in Red Deer, Alberta, April 25th. That's the evening before the big main event, Horse Expo, starts. And we'll have a lot of videos, pictures, and memories of our many memorable past cruises. The Western Spirit Band and members of our Cruisin' Cowboy Band will provide great Western music, and you can RSVP at this number, 1-800-530-0131.
Now it's time for the Horse Training File, brought to you by Irvine Tack and Western Wear, Canada's largest Western store.
At Irvine Tack and Western Wear, you won't find this.
Change rooms? Change rooms? This ain't no five-star resort, Miss Prissy Pants.
But you will find this.
Change rooms are right over there. I'll be here when you're ready.
So saddle up for Irvine's today. Boots, belts, jeans, shirts, hats, and accessories. Best selection from Canada's largest Western store, exit 305 off Highway 2 by Crossfield.
Don't just wear it, live it. Irvine Tack and Western Wear.
I've got to worm this horse I bought at the sale, and he absolutely refuses to let me put the worming syringe anywhere near his mouth. Oh, the poor lady was somewhat upset. She felt really bad because the horse she fell in love with at the sale just would not let her do something for his own good. Okay, well, a little advice. First of all, try really hard not to take it personally when something doesn't go like you think it should with your horse. Try really hard not to beat yourself up or think you're letting your horse down. Work on yourself first and remember to breathe and be prepared to be patient. And next, get an empty worming syringe and fill it with applesauce. Next, plan to spend a few minutes or even an hour or more, whatever it takes, just letting your horse get used to your touch on his face, his jowls, his nose, and his lips. And then stand at his left side with the halter shank draped over your arm. Put your left hand on the bridge of his nose and your right hand on his neck just behind his ears. Behind his ears. And with gentle pressure, ask him to drop his head and tuck his nose and release the pressure the first time he shows the least effort to try. If you time it right, he'll soon be dropping his head willingly in response to very light pressure from your hands. Next, work your fingers into the interdental space on the bars of his mouth. That's the place where the bit sits because there are no teeth there, and work on gently massaging his gums. And if you take enough time, he'll probably get to like it. And then eventually, be very gentle with the syringe and use it the way you did your fingers. And This is a tricky part. It requires some delicate judgment as to when to back off and when to do just a little more. But believe me, it can be done. Once you've got the syringe in position and you can squirt a little applesauce onto the back of his tongue, he'll probably like the taste. I just give him applesauce that way every day for, maybe 3 days or more. And then try it with the worming syringe. It's always worked for me. And for Irvin, Saddles and Western Wear, that's the Horse Training File. Something our horses sure enjoy is that daily feeding of Hoffman's horse ration. No problem getting to put that in their mouth. You can find out more at hoffmanshorseration.com. How about a weekend pass to the 23rd Annual Kamloops Cowboy Festival, March 14th to 17th, 2019. Just about the finest lineup of talent we've ever had. Michael Fleming.
On the back roads of Utah near the San Rafael, an old rough stock rider strides through the corral.
Gene Prescott.
Then he'd swing down from the saddle, and he'd take me in his arms.
Tim Huss.
The band's tuning up and they're stocking the bar. Ranchers are coming from near and far.
Special guest Lewis the Big Rig McIver, and so many more. The BC Cowboy Hall of Fame inductions, dinner shows, daytime entertainment, a spectacular art and gear show, workshops on everything from songwriting to saddle making. The best place to get all the information is bcchs.com. And to order tickets, call 1-888-763-2221. Well, Miles Kingdon is pouring a couple more cups of coffee for us, and while he does that, we'll listen to Oklahoma ranch manager Gary Pratt, and then talk some more with Miles.
The dust hangs thick upon the trail, and the horns and the hooves are clashing, while off at the side through the chaparral, the men and the strays go crashing. But in right good cheer the cowboy sings, for the work of the fall is ending. And then it's ride for the old home ranch, where maid's love's light is tending. Then it's crack, crack, crack on a beef steer's back, and it's run, you slow-footin' devil, for I'm soon to turn back, where through the black love lamps gleams along the level. He's trailed them far o'er the trackless range, as this night of the saddle leather, he has risked his life in the mad stampede, and has breasted all kinds of weather. But now it's the end of the trail inside, and the hours on wings are sliding, for it's back to the home and the only girl, when the foreman okays the option. Then it's quirt, 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 it's run or get hurt, you hang back, bawling critter, for a man who's in love with a turtle dove ain't got no time to frit her.
That's another long-lost song of the West from Gary Pratt's great album, Lomax. Well, lifelong working cowboy, cowboss, and horseman Miles Kingdon is sitting in today, and, you know, there's a line in your book that really struck a chord. It goes something like, when the body is strong but the spirit is broken, it's difficult to go on. But when the body's broken but the spirit is strong, it's different. Just expand on that.
Thing is, everybody goes through everybody's got a story. And you know, it's a very simple line. Possums use it all the time. Everyone's got a story. And everyone's got a story. I mean, you think about that. And it helps to not judge people so harshly then. When the body is strong but the spirit is broken, it is difficult to go on. You don't have the drive anymore. But if the body's broken and the spirit's strong, you will get there. You will endure. And that's I noticed from this job, this lifestyle, has taught me, among a lot of other things, that's one of the important ones. And if you start second guessing yourself, I guess is what it boils down to, you're in trouble. We know when we get up in the morning we're going to do the right thing or the wrong thing. But your feet hit the floor and you get doing something. You may have things lined up that need to be done, and that's good. And at the end of the day, you'll say, well, that was a mistake or this was a mistake, and you get dragging yourself down, and it's hard on you, and you're not going to be able to do the things the way you want to if you drag yourself down. If you just admit that, I guess things didn't line up the way I expected them to, maybe my expectations were a bit too high. There's always some good things that you can gather at the end of the day that happened, no matter how rough your time is. And sometimes it takes a lot of years to get past that. I look back on one eventful day of changing my life, and I'm so fortunate and so happy that Bev and Larry Ramstead and Tim and Chris O'Byrne were there, and my friends up in that country to help us get past it, because now I look back on it and that's exactly how I see it. There was something that was good happened that day. It's we can line up things as well as we want, but fate is going to intervene, and that presence from the other side is going to step in and help you out one way or the other. Anyway, yeah, that little circle-less cow was one critter that brought that thought to my mind.
Her body was pretty battered and worn out almost, but her drive and her inner drive and her spirit took her along.
That's right. You know, she had in her mind's eye, as a creature of that range, which we all are. If we live out there and spend enough time out there, we are a part of that range. And we want to be a certain place. There's a certain place that we liked more than others. And she had that spot in her mind where she wanted to go. She had the spirit to get there, and that's how she did it.
Reminds me of a quote from a song that Brett Kissel wrote. I think it was his grandparents that he had in mind when he wrote it. But he's got it on a T-shirt, and he gave Billy and I a couple of T-shirts when we went to his concert here a little while ago. And the quote on it, which is the song title, is, "Tough times don't last, tough people do."
Oh, well, big time.
So proud to wear that T-shirt, you know. Anyway, Miles, gee, I sure enjoy having you sit in. We got to do this some more. In the meantime, this week's classic Song of the West is coming up from Gene Prescott, and then it's the Cowboy Poetry Spotlight when the Spirit of the West continues right after this. Welcome back to the Spirit of the West. And you know, folks are pretty excited about the great lineup of talents for this week's Kamloops Cowboy Festival, March the 14th to the 17th. And Gene Prescott, his Texas ranch wife, wonderful singer and songwriter, has made a lot of friends and fans from her past appearances. She'll be back again this year, and Gene has this week's classic Song of the West. It was actually written by another Gene, Gene Autry. And the publication date of the song is 1933. It was recorded in 1936 by Gene Autry on an old 78 RPM single, and it's been sung around a lot of campfires by a lot of cowboys for a long time. Here's Gene Prescott, and there's an empty cot in the bug house tonight.
There's a cot unused in the bunkhouse tonight. There's a pinto's head bending low. His spurs and chaps hang on the wall. Limpy's gone where the good cowboys go. There's a range for every cowboy, where the foreman takes care of his own. There'll be an empty saddle tonight, but he's happy up there, I know. He was riding the range last Saturday noon when a norther had started to blow. With his head in his chest, headed into the west, he was stopped by a cry soft and low. A crazy young calf had strayed from its mom and was lost in the snow and the storm. It lay in a heap at the end of the draw, huddled all in a bunch to keep warm. Limpy hobbled its feet and tossed it over his horse and headed again to the shack. But the wind got cold and the snow it piled up, and poor Limpy he strayed from his tracks. He arrived at 3 in the morning, and he put the young maverick to bed. Then he flopped on his bunk, unable to move. This morning, old Limpy was dead. There's an empty cot in the bunkhouse tonight. There's a pinto's head bending low. His spurs and shafts hang on the wall. Limpy's gone where the good cowboys go. There's a range for every cowboy who shows he has this kind of love. And someday he'll ride his pinto again up there on that range above.
That delicate acoustic guitar of Rich O'Brien and the beautiful voice of Gene Prescott in our classic Song of the West this week. Well, Jerry Allen is a cowboy poet from Parksville, Missouri, and here's one of his originals to kind of wrap things up this week. It's called Take Me Back to the West.
Take me back to the West, to a time when we did ride in perfect syncopation, man and horse, side by side. Take me back to the West, to a prairie open and free, to buffalo and grass so tall it hides them up to their knees. Take me back to the West. Let me breathe clean mountain air. Let me see the azure sky as if I'm standing there. Take me back to the West, to herds of horses fat and slick, to rolling seas of blue stem no plow has yet to nick. Take me back to the West. Through poetry and song, give me that forgotten stillness for which my soul does long. Take me back to the West, to that place that holds my heart, and tell me always I will stay. and from it never part. Thank you.
Well, thanks again for taking the time to ride along this week. And as always, thanks to our support crew, Mark and Kathy McMillan. It seems like they've always been covering my back for one thing or another. Anyway, if you're looking for tractor parts, any make, any year, just see Mark's page, bctractorparts.com. And for folks in the Caribou, I sure hope you can make it to the 100 Mile House Cowboy Concert, February the 16th. 2 shows, one at 2 p.m., one at 7 p.m. I'll be there along with Jason Rosinski and Tim Huss. Look forward to seeing you. Till next week, I'm Hugh McLennan. Hope to see you down the trail somewhere real soon.